Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dylan from Coventry Racing, and this is my first ever podcast. So thank you for joining in on podcast number 1 on the Coventry Racing channel. If you guys watch me over on TikTok, you kind of get the same feeling from all the videos I make there. Most of the videos I make are, me talking in this microphone because I'm not a super fast rider, but I have a lot of information on the, outdoor series, the Supercross series. I watch a ton of racing for motocross and, everything to do with dirt bikes. I absolutely love it. So, today we just want to talk a little bit about, starting out with this podcast. First off, like I said, thanks for joining. And second off, please give me feedback. If you guys are like, hey, you could do a lot better by doing this, or you could do better by doing that, please tell me. Please let me know. I really want to, make things good. I want my podcast to sound professional. I want it to come out professional to you guys, and I want it to give you guys the best experience possible. So, by all means, give me the most feedback that you can, and that is very appreciated. I promise you, it helps me. It helps me a lot. So, and that's here to help you guys as well. But anyway, so today I wanted to mostly talk about the Southwick Pro National that just took place this past weekend. We got to watch the 250s and the 450s put down some, I don't want to say crazy races, but I want to say they were very, very inspirational races. Now, when I talk about inspirational, I'm kind of bringing up Hayden Deegan the most. Chase Sexton, obviously, is a part of that too. Chase and Hayden are the two guys this year that have shown what it takes to come back from, being a little bit further back in the pack or just whatever it takes to actually win by basically letting that bike do whatever it's got to do to just win. So, first off, we're going to start with the 250 class. 250s class, Moto 1 was good. It was mostly Hayden Deegan running away with it. There wasn't really much to it. At that point, it kind of turned into, the race for second place, honestly. I think this was an important race for Hayden, mostly because, obviously everyone was talking about the sand, and they were talking about Vial and how Vial is really, really talented in the sand, because that's like pretty much what he rode a lot over in Europe or France, wherever he was over there. And, I think while that was important, because obviously Tom did great in the sand last year at Southwick, Hayden is just on a new level this year. And I think a lot of people expected this riding from Hayden to happen last year. And I don't think that's too extreme to feel that way or think that way. I will say it's like a bit of a stretch just because he's still a kid and he is still kind of transitioned over to the, 250s in general, and to pro racing. I know when you look at his, childhood and everything he had growing up, you can easily say, why? Well, he should be doing this well. I get that, but I mean, you got to understand when it gets to that level, you're at a whole new ball game when it comes to professional racing. We're talking the top 40 guys in the world. I know people are going to hate that because, the MXGP riders. Okay, so we'll talk about the top 40 in the country at least. Some guys come from overseas, so, you could say top 40 in the world. But anyway, long story short, these are some of the best guys to ever ride dirt bikes, right? And for Hayden, like I said, a kid, to within his second year, like full year of racing, to come out and be this dominant, it's making a pretty big, shockwave, I think, across the moto platform. So, and that leads over to the 450 class. That's the same with Jet. Jet is one of those guys where it's like, obviously, it's very evident that Jet is at a whole nother level of riding, right? And, I think a lot of the 450 class, the fast guys from the 450 class, are kind of aging themselves out. And I know that's extreme, and, that's fine, like, if people think that's extreme, but it's true. Some of these guys are starting to get a bit older, and they've been racing in the 450 class for, however many years. I mean, some of these guys have been in the 450 class for, like, 8 to 15 years, you know what I mean? Like, or some even longer. It's been a long time, right? And so some of these big names, they're starting to get a little bit older, and the riding style is different. Flat out, that's just how it is. And you can see that from Jet. And we noticed that a lot last year when he jumped in that 450 class, and the way he just, it's like magical how he rides. And I don't even know how to explain it. He can position himself on the bike to where he's not putting near as much effort into, his body movements or the bike. He's not exerting too much energy. He's just very smart on the bike. And I think Chase Sexton is really good at that too. But Chase is also a little bit more like let the bike go crazy, and I'll just be doing my thing and the bike will dance beneath me. While Jet is a little bit more methodical and kind of like lets the bike do its thing, but he also kind of controls it smoothly. It's like a hard mix there. But, anyway, that was a ramble there about that whole thing. But Jet, that's the thing. Jet is just one of those guys where, he and Hayden, they're both so dominant because they're able to establish what it's going to take to win. And yeah, I just think that it would be very interesting to see what's going to be happening in the next year for Star Yamaha, Hayden Deegan, and the 450 class, because I could honestly see them wanting him to jump up almost immediately to the 450 class. And that could be, it is hypothetical, but it's also not that extreme of a thought, I don't think, at this point, because not many people can beat Jet or Hunter. And, yeah, I mean, we obviously got to see, which leads us into Moto 2 of this past weekend. In the 450 class, at least, Chase Sexton was able to make it happen. Chase was also able to make it happen at Hangtown. Hangtown was a little different, obviously, circumstances speaking, but I think that what it's going to take for Jet to be beat and championship's sake be beat, it's going to require more of these younger riders. And I think Chase is still young. I think Chase is still really, really fast. I think he's got just a whole nother riding style when it comes to how he rides versus how Jet rides. Now, when you watch them, they both have immaculate form, right? It's like unbelievable how perfect their form is. But they still have different riding styles, and it's very obvious when you watch them closely. But anyway, yeah, so then that's, that was the kind of the big thing in my eyes of what I took away from this 450 class this past weekend at Southwick was, Moto 1 was just typical Jet and Hunter finding their dominance section, but mostly Jet, finding his typical dominant self and just pretty much taking it away. I mean, I know it wasn't like runaway, but still, he just figured it out like he always does. Now, the second moto, that's what I mean. Chase Sexton is showing like, hey, I can fight for this. I can win. And I think obviously when Chase passed him, I think the Jet was like, all right, I still got the overall. I can just calm down anyway. And let's just be smart, think championship. And I think that's great, but Chase needs to keep putting that pressure there. You know what I mean? He needs to keep pursuing pressure, and he needs to let these guys know, like Jet, like, hey, man, I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting, and I've got the speed. So, that's the biggest takeaway for the 450 class. And for the 250 class, once again, Hayden Deegan just coming back after he went down in, second or third lap there. I don't even know. I just can't even believe how fast he is in every condition of a track. You look at Fox Raceway, Hangtown, Thunder Valley, and now Southwick. Look at those 4 rounds, for example. I mean, High Point as well. Add all of those in there. You look at the different conditions of each of those tracks, and you look at how he's ridden in all of them, and it's all out. I mean, he can do it all. So I think that he's going to be dangerous. Oh, great. There you go, the danger zone, right? But he's going to be dangerous in this 250 class and the 450 whenever he gets to that class. So, just unbelievable, an absolute dominant ride from Hayden Deegan. He's gonna be the biggest threat to Jet in the next few years whenever that time comes. And that's, maybe a bolder statement to make, but I really do think he's going to be the biggest threat. As for some notable riders, this is just going to be one of these things that I want to throw in there every single week when we talk about these pro nationals or supercross races. I want to talk about some notable riders. So, two notable riders, one of them from the 250 class and one of them for the 450 class. The first notable rider, 250 class, Joe Shimoda. Joe, you're crazy fast. You are so fast, and you have what it takes to win. Clearly, you did it in the second moto, and you can do it. I mean, I don't even know what words to say other than Joe has what it takes to win. It just takes him longer to piece this puzzle together. You know, I mean, it's just it's hard, right? It's hard to sit there and say this guy is a champion when he just can't piece the first few races together. And I think that's a really crappy thing to say, but it's just a reality. And he's been like that these past couple years, and it's really hard to see when you see a guy like Joe Shimoda who has the speed that he has and the skill that he has. He has every reason to be a champion. And you know, I'm writing him down this week as a notable rider because he stepped up and he got that speed back. And I'll bet you these next, I don't know, however many remaining rounds there are, he's going to be unbelievably fast. And he's probably going to be on the podium a few more times. And I think people are going to be like, wow, you know, Joe. Yeah, Joe, you do this every year, though. You know, it's like the fourth or fifth round is when he finally kicks it into gear and he's gone, you know, and he's got it figured out. And it's like, I would love to see him catch that fire at the beginning of the year. You catch that fire at the first race, you're good. You'll have a championship all day. Yeah, I just think, unfortunately, catching it in the fourth or fifth round, sixth round, whatever round we're at, is kind of hard to do because now you can't, you know, really go for a championship. I mean, maybe you can, but some crazy stuff's going to have to happen. So Joe was definitely the notable rider in the 250 class for stepping up and finally getting that speed. And like I said, keep your eyes open to see what's going to happen there. Notable rider number 2 is going to be in the 450 class. Like I said, it's Aaron Plessinger. Aaron Plessinger, man, I think he's got what it takes to be a champion as well. And I think that when you look at Aaron's 450 career from when it started to where he's at now, you're looking at two different people. Aaron he's on the move right now. Okay, so all Supercross season this year, he did phenomenal. In my opinion, he did incredibly well. And when you look at his outdoor season so far, he's doing great. And he's hanging up there with these guys, and he's doing what he's got to do to get these points, to stay within this championship, you know, at least somewhat there, you know. And now we're going into Redbud, which is his home race. He's like the Captain America of motocross for us. He's like this is, you know, because it's the 4th of July race. It's going to be a chance for him to really capitalize. And I think he can do it. I honestly think he's going to win at least one moto at Redbud. The overall, I don't know, but I think he's going to win one of these motos. And I'd love to see him get the overall. I'd love to see him go 1-1. And, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Aaron Plessinger was notable because he came back. You know, he worked his way all the way back up into, I believe, top 15 there from a rough start there in first moto. And then second moto coming in at 4th, I believe. And just holding it together. You know, and obviously he's been holding it together. He got second at Hangtown there in that second moto, which was almost a win, but obviously that was Chase just having the craziest race I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, it's just one of those things, you know, like you just start noticing these little moments at some of these pro nationals and they start adding up. So I think that's why Aaron has now made himself the notable rider for this week in Southwick. And I think, you know, Southwick definitely plays to his advantage, but yeah. This is going to be a very fun rest of the season to watch. I think that the 450 class can still have some shakeups here and there. I love how fast Jet is and how incredibly talented he is, but I also don't like watching the same guy win every single week. It gets a little boring, so who knows? But yeah, there you guys have it. Like I said, today was just the first podcast. Just wanted to give it a try, see how things are. Give me all the feedback you can. Tell me what your thoughts are on the races. I want to hear what you guys want me to talk about in future podcasts. I'd love to talk about all things dirt bikes, and I'd love to talk about, some of these pro nationals and supercross and the super motocross series that's soon to come. So, yeah, you guys just let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and, we're going to keep doing this. So, like I said, thank you guys so much. I hope you have an amazing day. And thank you for listening in to Coventry Racing. Once again, my name is Dylan.